Hey everybody, Professor Moore here. So, something that I've been talking a lot about recently is how there are many people in this country who do not want us to remember the past. They want to whitewash the history of slavery. They want to erase the racism and discrimination against indigenous people and people of color. They want us to forget the racist violence that this country was founded on and ignore the fact that it still shapes the world we live in today. You know how I know this? Just look at what's happened to the historical marker for Emmett Till. Emmett Till was a black 14-year-old who was killed by two white men in Mississippi in 1955. And ever since the historical marker was put up to acknowledge this crime, people in Mississippi have vandalized it, thrown it in the river, and shot it to pieces. It's almost as if they're trying to kill Emmett Till over and over again. Here's a picture from 2019 showing three students from the University of Mississippi posing next to the Emmett Till historical marker after they had just shot it with rifles. And they posted this picture to Instagram, obviously proud of their work. After having to replace the historical marker 3 times, a new one was finally made, and this time they had to make it bulletproof and weighing over 500 pounds, all in an effort to stop people from destroying it. Even after the new historical marker was put up, a security camera captured a group of white supremacists who came to film one of their Klan meetings there. In the video, the men can be seen congregating around the historical marker, carrying Confederate and white nationalist flags, no doubt reminiscing about when they believe America was great, when white people could own black people as property. What is clear is that no matter how many times these racists and cowards try to desecrate or destroy this historical marker, it will rise again. It has to. The story of Emmett Till must be known. In 1955, 14-year-old Emmett Till left Chicago to visit family in Mississippi. One day, he went to the Bryant grocery store with his cousin Simeon Wright and some friends. Inside the store, Simeon Wright recalled that Emmett did nothing inappropriate. He never touched or interacted with the cashier Carolyn Bryant other than to buy some snacks. When they got outside, Emmett jokingly whistled at Carolyn Bryant as she walked to her car. It was something a 14-year-old would do. It was a joke. It was harmless. But his cousin Simeon Wright remembered how we all looked at each other, realizing that he had violated a long-standing unwritten law, a social taboo about conduct between blacks and whites in the South. Suddenly we felt we were in danger, and we stared at each other, all with the same expression of fear and panic. However, even Wright, who was familiar with Mississippi's brutal racist violence, said, "It never occurred to me that Emmett would be killed for whistling at a white woman." When Carolyn Bryant told this story to her husband Roy Bryant, somehow it had gone from an innocent whistle to Emmett Till forcefully grabbing and assaulting her, something that she later testified to in court. It wasn't until 2008, 50 years after the murder, that Carolyn Bryant finally confessed that she lied. Emmett Till had never done anything remotely inappropriate. But the truth didn't matter to Emmett Till's killers. A few days after this non-incident, Roy Bryant and his half-brother J.W. Millam snuck out at night and traveled to the home where Emmett Till was staying. They stalked the halls and rooms armed with flashlights and guns, and then they kidnapped Emmett Till with the sole intent of torture and murder. They took him to a secluded spot, savagely beat him, shot him, and then threw his broken body into a river. When his body was discovered, his face had been beaten beyond recognition. When Till's killers were brought to trial, it wasn't a trial at all. It was a mockery of justice. It was white supremacy protecting its own. An all-white jury quickly returned a verdict of not guilty. Here's a picture of the killers with their wives in the courtroom, joking, laughing, and smoking celebratory cigars. One newspaper wrote of the approved killings in Mississippi. The killers felt so comfortable with their crime that a year after the murder, J.W. Millam confessed to killing Emmett Till in an interview with Look magazine, an interview that he was paid thousands of dollars to give. I want you to read part of this interview, but I'm not going to read it to you myself because it's full of racial slurs. However, I want you to see the true face of American racism. Even though racist murders were commonplace in America, the story of the killing of Emmett Till spread across the country and the world. And it's mainly due to the courageous decision of Emmett Till's mother, Mamie Till Bradley, to hold a public open casket funeral so the world could see what these racist killers did to her son. She even requested that nothing be done to repair his face so that the world could see what white supremacist terrorism really looks like. Over 50,000 people attended this funeral and walked past the body of Emmett Till to see the true face of white supremacy. And this public funeral helped to reignite the civil rights movement that peaked in the 1960s with sit-ins and boycotts and Martin Luther King's March on Washington, D.C. Emmett Till should be alive today, and if he was, he would be 83. His cousin Simeon Wright said, "I believed if Emmett had lived, he would have been a great comedian because he knew the routines of all the top ones on television." This is not history. This is yesterday. This is today. In fact, in 2017, the FBI even reopened the Emmett Till murder investigation, proving that these are not historical events as much as they are an active crime scene. History is not something that is dead and done. It is a crime that is still in progress. And that's why we have to keep this story alive, so that Emmett Till will never die.